Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our show. This is your host, Keith Doherty. Today our special guest is top real estate agent Terry Bunch of Century 21 Affiliated, based out of Naperville, Illinois. Working with buyers and sellers for the past 10 years, Terry has found that putting his clients' interests first is the key to success for them and for himself. As a licensed broker realtor working with a major brand real estate company, Century 21 Affiliated, #1 Century 21 franchise in the world, he has had the chance to grow from the Rookie of the Year in 2005 to the top lister producer in his office for the past 7 years. He believes through his faith, family, and career, he has accumulated unique experiences that allows him to be himself. It's the combination of being part of a loving family, his business background with a Fortune 10 corporation, University of Chicago MBA, and a passion for what he does for his clients that makes him who he is as a realtor. He has been told his relationship skills allows him to be a quick study in determining clients' needs and easy to get to know, making the transaction comfortable. So Terry, welcome to the show.
Hey Keith, thank you.
So Terry, if we could start, what led you into real estate? Was it something that you knew you always wanted to do, or did you kind of stumble into it?
Well, it was definitely a path, and there was definitely some stumbles along the way, I'm sure. You could all equate to that. The real interest peaked during my corporate years, where I got relocated multiple times, I think a total of 8 times throughout a 30-year career, and just found that piece of the relocation, going out and finding the new home and negotiating, felt natural, felt good. I liked it.
Excellent. So I guess it kind of life kind of pushed you into it. Like you said, you got relocated and you kind of went through the experience and got to kind of see firsthand what it was like. And it's like, yeah, maybe this is something I'd like to do for myself.
Exactly. You know, after 30 years experience with the major corporation and then settling in, they get tired of me, I get tired of them, decided onto the real estate career.
Excellent. And if you could kind of talk a little bit about, what personal attributes or traits or qualities do you think have most contributed to your success, and how do you think you developed those?
It probably is rooted with personal drive. I have a high achievement kind of attitude. I like to succeed. Through the combination of the relational skills that I guess I was kind of born with and developed over time, as well as negotiations, the business school background, the corporate experience. It all kind of put it in a blender and mix it up, and that kind of is who I am today.
Excellent. Do you think maybe you could give our listeners maybe an example or some examples of how your traits have played a role in your path towards success?
Sure. Thinking about that a little bit. One story I tell is when Cindy and I were relocated from Florida to the Chicago area. We landed in Naperville, and we got connected with a top realtor of the time, and she's showing us homes, and we drove by one particular house, and she hadn't shown it to us, and we were in the neighborhood looking at other houses, and I asked, well, what about that house? And she this is what I heard. I'm sure she didn't say it like this, but what I heard is, oh, you can't afford that. That we can't look at that one. And that gets into the personal drive and fear to failure mode. And when somebody says I can't, I kind of want to make sure that they're right. And turns out we found a heck of a bargain. We negotiated hard with it, and I would attribute the success of landing my own house that I live in still today with that urge to succeed. And I don't always take no for an answer the first time.
Yeah, I think that's great what you said too, and you probably even learned a lesson now that you're on the other side of the table, right? That you wouldn't probably even suggest that to somebody if somebody
And,
saw it and you wanted to show them, hey, you know what? People can do a lot of things when they really want something and their passion is there. So she probably, unless that maybe that was her little psychology trick. Oh, you can't afford that place. Maybe she read you and said, I can get this guy to buy that house. Oh, you can't have that house.
well, that has entered my mind. But I always like to think of, oh no, it was me.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So obviously you've come up and had a lot of different success. You know, what maybe if you could talk a little bit about some of the major adversities, some of the trials that you've had to overcome so that you can continue to keep moving forward to achieve your goals.
Well, when I first retired, and I'll put quotation marks around that, took a severance package and left the company I worked with, and I still had kids in high school at the time, and that was right at I would say in the middle of the real estate boom when, you couldn't put a sign in the ground without selling the house. The first person that drove by, it was almost that easy. Shortly after that, though, the tables turned, unfortunately, as many people listening can relate to, that the values crashed, and as a brand new real estate agent, things got a little lean. I didn't have a sphere or a book of business that I had built up. I hadn't been in it that long. And so I considered taking a part-time job. And at the time, it was like I would get a few phone calls, and the part-time job that I was considering was, oh gosh, why don't I go to Bass Pro Shop and see if I can get on there? And then as I start thinking about it, well, there's no future for that for me. It's kind of a retirement job, and I'm far from being retired. Couldn't support my lifestyle that I had made for myself through that. So what I ended up doing is doubling down, participating in the business at hand, which is real estate, whether that's working with rentals, property management, buying or selling, and through perseverance, networking, making sure that people knew that I was a realtor, and then above all, those clients that I did have, treating them like the precious commodity that they were. And so in 2008, when the crash had really taken hold, shortly after that, started building my business, and at this point in time, I look back and just see a steady growth every year from that experience of being at the bottom, so to speak.
Excellent. And I think you've kind of alluded to the next the point I'd like to bring out here. But what kept you going? You've obviously had a long history, and you had education. You mentioned your University of Chicago MBA. So you obviously had education. You had experience. Why didn't you give up with real estate? Why didn't you at that point? You considered Bass Pro Shops, but maybe you could have looked into the corporate world again. I mean, what kept you on the path so that you didn't give up on your real estate career?
Well, I had tasted success, as I joke, a 50-year-old rookie of the year when I first came in the business, and found that it was a good fit. My wife said, "Terry, I wish you would have done this sooner." And frequently, I guess that happens when you really find something that you like. You don't want to just give it up. And I guess also when I think back about my own personal nature of fear to fail, I stick with things, and this is possibly an example of where somebody that was as well educated as I throw that with tongue in cheek as I am with the University of Chicago degree, probably would have gotten smart and gotten out of it, but in reality, I persevered, and boy, I'm glad I didn't. It's provided my wife and family and I a nice lifestyle.
Excellent. And kind of looking forward, as you said, you're still I think got a lot of time left out there. I mean, what do you see your vision for your career over the next 5 years?
Growth. I don't believe in standing still. you're losing ground if that's the case. I think that continuing to expand my reach is important, and I think about how to do that. The first is to do the basics, and don't showing up in life is a big part of success. Being there when the opportunity strikes. So that's the first component. But more specifically, when I do have the opportunity, taking care of the client's needs, giving them the kind of service that I would like to have, and as long as I can focus on their needs, my needs tend to get met as well. That's the basics. Then beyond that, I think about staying plugged in with the trends, and technology is a huge component. I can't imagine how people did this job in years past without the technology that we have today. I've been in the business now about 10 years or so, and even the technology has changed in that short time. But previously, they weren't even using computers in this business. That's crazy to me. I just don't see how that worked. But staying on the forefront of that is also important. Meeting the client's needs where they want to meet them, whether it's in person, phone conversation, text, Facebook, Snapchat, being there for the client, however they want to be taken care of.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I'd like to highlight and kind of point out, and it's a common theme because I interview a lot of agents like yourself, and the common thread that I find of the most successful people that we speak with is the adage of what you just said, and it goes back to the saying, treat others like you want to be treated. And I know it seems so simple on the surface, but our listeners, you guys that listen to other episodes, know that it's the common thread. I mean, agent after agent after agent after success, it all boils down to, a lot of people kind of say just what you said. They don't say, I'm focused on money, I'm focused on listings, I'm focused on any of that. You simply say, I'm focused on serving other people's needs, making sure they're met, and then mine are met because of that. And I think it's really important that I point that out, because it's very profound and powerful, and it's the common thread over and over when it comes to successful people.
Yeah, that's I don't have anything to say there, Keith.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I want to point it out because I think it's so important, and it speaks volumes, obviously, for you as a person, but it also, your track record speaks for itself because of, and that's how that's your main mission. And I, like I said, you're not the first, and I'm sure you won't be the last. So it's a huge lesson for anybody listening. If you're struggling in any business, start focusing on giving value to your end user, whether it's in real estate, whether it's in any other type of business transaction. Don't focus on the money. Focus on the value. The money will come if you take care of people the right way.
I agree.
So Terry, kind of moving forward, I guess you kind of mentioned some key components here, but if we could kind of focus a little more specifically on, what do you feel the best way that you market yourself as a real estate professional so that you can have that continual growth?
Staying in touch with my friends and family and clients, making sure that I'm top of mind as a real estate agent. Silly thing, I wear a name badge during working hours, and occasionally I forget to take it off, and I'll go to dinner with my wife, and she'll have to remind me to take my name badge off. But just making sure people know that I'm a realtor. Being in the marketplace, having a presence, both on all the major real estate websites, that my own local marketing efforts through signage. The best marketing is putting a for sale sign in somebody's yard with your name in it. That's how I love continuing my business. But I guess I go back and think, it's really about staying in touch with my sphere, talking to people. I'm always interested in real estate, so it's a quick conversation for me. I love it, and I find that a lot of people will start the conversation because they know I'm in the business.
Excellent, Terry. That kind of leads me into the next point here. I think there's sometimes a lot of misconceptions of working with real estate agents. People have different perceptions. They look at them in many different lights. Sometimes people think, oh, I can just do this on my own, and I can, I'll just put a sign up and I'll sell my house and everything like that. They don't realize, I think, everything that goes into what you do for them. So what do you think the biggest misconception or myth that people have about working with a real estate agent is?
Well, there's always two sides of a transaction, the buy side and the sell side. And each one comes with some stumbles or some trip hazards, if you would. And what my role as a professional realtor would be to guide the process, buyer or seller, to avoid those. In regards to selling your house on your own, that is something that some people have success with. And, I've acted as a buyer's agent a number of times where we've bought a home that was for sale by an owner. Truthfully, on those, while my compensation is the same, I end up doing both the buyer's and the seller's agent's work, because frequently the lister or the owner of the home is looking for some professional help, and he didn't realize he gets into it knee deep and doesn't realize the complexities involved. Whether that is as a seller, and he has to deal with home inspections, making sure the mortgage contingencies are met. The marketing of the home itself is kind of, in his view, putting a sign in the yard, but quite frankly, it's about reach and getting the home priced right. That's the main thing that he's going to need to do. And while the market is pretty transparent and a lot of good information can be had, it's not without the opportunity to refine it and help yourself with better information than what they might be able to get out there by using a professional. On the buy side, of course, many people would think I can go in even on new construction, and I don't need an agent. I might be able to get a better price if I'm buying new construction without an agent. Well, I would say that that is a possibility. I would never say that isn't possible. But ethically, builders today have two pockets of money. They're going to pay for advertising to draw clients in, or they're going to pay an agent to bring a buyer in. And in either case, the cost to him is the same to generate that transaction. The probability, if a buyer is using an agent, that agent has some experience and might be able to spot some opportunities to negotiate even new construction. So buying or selling, I obviously think that a professional is somebody good to have alongside of you. And beyond just the real estate needs, specifically buying and selling, but lending professionals or legal professionals, they typically would have a resource for you for that as well. Is that kind of the direction you were kind of asking about, Keith?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, I think it's just to look at, to put it in almost a simple example, and I think it even sounds extreme, but it really is to this level. Because if you think, states require people like yourself to be licensed, right? So you have to have education, you have to pass a test, and you have to have a license to perform. So you're actually kind of in the same capacity as other licensed professionals, contractors, dentists. They have to have licensure. They can't just practice. Can't just have somebody come over your house and pull somebody's tooth out. But unfortunately, I think that people don't give realtors sometimes that level of elevation where they deserve it. Because like you said, there's a lot of things. Even you gave the perfect example of a builder. Even if you go into that builder, they don't have your best interest. Now, if somebody come to you and said, hey, I'm looking at new houses, I want to get a brand new house. Now you're going to act on their behalf, and you're going to use all the abilities you have, every resource you have to get them the best deal and act on their behalf. Versus if they go in, they're at the discretion of the builder, who could pretend to take their interest at heart, but at the end of the day, they got to put money in the bank.
You're exactly right. Thank you. not that they're bad people. The people that are working for builders are selected for their jobs because they have great interpersonal skills, and they want to draw clients in. But a buyer needs somebody looking out for them, and that's what an agent does for them. Somebody that has their back. Somebody that does more than one transaction every 5 to 7 years. Somebody that does business every day. Use those resources. That's what I encourage people.
Absolutely. So it's kind of a hypothetical question here I like to give, but let's say you get a call from a family member in another state, and they say, Terry, we're going to sell our house, and we're going to move. Maybe it's time to retire. Maybe we're going out west or down south or wherever. What advice would you give them so that they could select an agent who could best serve their needs? Kind of how you take care of your people. How would you guide them for selecting that agent for themselves?
Well, probably first conversation would be with friends and family members in the area that had sold homes or bought homes in the past. Finding out who they used, what they liked, what they didn't like about working with that individual. Also, building a network of some trust. Having an agent that you feel really truly does have your best interest at heart. That's the selection process. Looking at somebody with some experience, somebody that has done more than a handful of transactions, particularly in the area that you're thinking of buying or selling in. Somebody that's familiar with the area. Those are the key components. Conversation with friends and family, seeing if there's any referrals can be made there, and find out about somebody that's done business in the area, and then developing a good fit so that you trust the individual.
Excellent. And if, Terry, if somebody wants to learn more about you and they need an agent in the Naperville, Illinois area, what's the best way they can find out more about you and how you can help them?
Oh, great. Well, my wife yells at me sometimes in a nice way, though, that she wonders why I always have my phone. First of all, anybody that would like to call and have a conversation, my cell number is 630-632-6747. And unless I'm with another client or asleep, I'll answer your call. Be happy to have any kind of conversation about real estate that you might want to have. But technology, I talked about it earlier. Of course, I have websites. And I would suggest going to buysellrealestatetoday.com. I have a Facebook page. You can check me out there. Be more than happy to answer any questions that somebody has about the western Chicago suburbs and the real estate.
Excellent. Well, Terry, I just wanted to take the time for thanking you for obviously taking time out of your schedule and coming here today to share your business experience with all of our listeners. And anybody that's listening, if you want to learn more about Terry, you can go to his site. What we'll do is I'll get the link to his site. Below this interview, we'll have a link to his site, as well as we'll have his number that he gave out, so that way if you're listening to this, you can either give him a call, like he said, or click and go on his site, or it sounds like you can reach out via other ways with social media. So with that said, everybody, I want to thank you guys again for participating in the show, and thank you, Terry. So until our next show, everybody have a great day, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Thanks, Keith. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.